I have trouble taking debate seriously as an adult. The same way I have trouble with speakers. I did both of these things as part of my primary education. The debates we did with civility. The speaking we did with cards, or no cards at all, but certainly not teleprompters or scripts in hand. Part of this was doing the research and owning your own material. You were presenting what you had prepared. You weren't just reading what others had prepared for you. And it was either your view or the view that you were selected to have for the assignment. I know quite often the teachers, to challenge your viewpoint, would have you speak for or debate for the opposition. The other was an acceptance of moderation. And with debate in specific, a grading criteria that required substance and progress in the contest of argument. And that kept debate working. Because if you didn't move forward, if you didn't have a substantial argument, or if both parties didn't make progress in their understanding of what they were debating, you didn't get graded well in the class. When I watch people speak now, I can know that the material isn't theirs. I can see that they're not even interested, and in the rare case that they are standing behind a microphone or walking around on stage actually speaking to their audience because the message is their own, it stands out to me. This happens still, but rarely. Some presenters are prepared enough that they don't need the cards, they don't need the teleprompters, they can just talk to people. Debate, however, seems lost. From debates on creationism to climate change, anything large scale in the public eye is a mess of a conversation. It's all mimicking the political style of debate, with the pandering and the dodging and the lack of substance. There's no progress being made in these debates. No direct points are being answered, no evidence presented or invalidated. Debate and conjecture are one and the same. It's all about hogging the microphone and speaking over your opponent. Debates used to be drab. The ones that stood out were the ones that were debated passionately. And I think over time, that's what gained interest. If you had people that separated themselves from the subject, as is required in, say, touchy things like abortion or gun control. I remember those were the hot topics in our high school sociology. When you have the people that are separate from those topics and they can discuss them calmly, more progress can be made, but it's not an interesting watch. People can glaze over if they're not interested. Now, let's say those people are not interested in something like gun control or abortion, and the debaters become passionate about their pro or con arguments. Well, they become loud, and that's something, especially in our outrage culture, that people pay attention to, and that's something that the audience engages with. If the person is being loud and outrageous with their message, that must mean that they care about it more. Or at least that's the false correlation that the audience makes, and that's what makes it a good record, especially if the audience participates, whether it's Q&A after or applause. Because normally, again, with drab debates, the audience would generally just be there or sleeping. And again, I think over time that with the way that we've gone, our short attention spans, the need for someone to be yelling, something snazzy to happen, that passionate debates have been confused for quality debates. Now, that's not saying you need to be dispassionate for a debate to be good, but it's a substantial part about making progress in a conversation is listening to your opponent, listening to the counter arguments, and engaging your opponent. And that engagement, aside from ambush tactics and here's what's wrong with your side of the story, whether or not you're speaking from that angle, is really the approach that a lot of these debaters are taking. And I guess it's effective when you talk about your audience getting engaged, when you talk about people voting with their dollars after your cause. But ultimately, it's not substantial. It's very, very empty. It's very hollow. Like with politics, smear campaigns. Smear campaigns are the most effective, but they are the least helpful to the process. They're the least helpful to the governing body. So, with my friends, we've been discussing from time to time, one friend in specific, most often, effective forms of debate, or trying to do some, and we may do some and upload them here, example debate videos on how to progress or how to have a productive debate, even if it is a little flashy. And one of the formats, which you may get to see if we get together and we do it, is we'll take a topic of discussion. Ironically, rather not ironically, I don't know the appropriate word to use for this, perhaps inceptively. We were going to have a debate onto whether or not to have a debate. That is, we were going to put our debate format, and it was going to be a scheduling debate. One of our sides was going to basically play the opposition. They were going to be opposed to anything that the pro side offered up for the debate. Let's say if it was April on a Tuesday, the opposition would say that's unacceptable because of these reasons. So we would do a pseudo-debate, a mockery debate on when we were going to have the real debate. And we were going to use that to present one of several debate formats that we had thought of. Now, oddly enough, when it comes to being productive, we had a stance on how to share the mic, how to share mic time, and one of them was quite literally like the chess clock, is you could hand over early, but the moment your time ran out, your mic just got silenced and then the other person could talk, and it was your place to stop talking. Out of courtesy, the other person could pass their time sooner. These would be 5-minute, 2-minute segments, depending on how long your argument was. It's a tiny bit of parliamentary procedure in there, I guess. But another option that we had, aside from the silencing of whoever's turn it was not to talk, was that both parties would get a spray bottle. And that spray bottle would be filled with liquid. It could be salt water, could be lemon water, could just be water. And the moment they wanted to interject, they just sprayed the other person in their face. And that's basically what's going on right now, is one side basically says, you shut the fuck up, it's my turn to talk. And the other side says, no, you shut the fuck up, it's my turn to talk. And they get so riled up. A good example of this was when Bill Nye was talking with Tucker Carlson. They were both so frustrated with the aggressive ambush style of debate that when one side or the other actually answered one of the questions, it slipped by. They weren't paying attention. They were too busy, either one of them, at many times, on the assault, that they couldn't absorb the information. And if the debate wasn't so heated, if it wasn't so politicized, if there wasn't such an agenda to push, if they could just talk about the topic in a calm debate format, like adults, then the world, watching for those 12 minutes, would have gotten significantly more progress than 2 or 3 points made across the table. And that's all there was. There was 2 points made, if I remember correctly, by Mr. Carlson, and there was 1 point attempting to be made by Bill Nye, but really what he did is, in the end, he answered one of Tucker Carlson's questions, and then he submitted a threat at the end of it, which, that's not how debates work. So, I know there are also debate clubs and debate groups. I watched a couple of them over the internet, and it was absolutely absurd how they had done it, but to gain publicity, they're supposed to be over the top. And in time, it'll be our turn, and perhaps your turn, if it catches on, to submit a civil debate format with one or multiple topics, and to show or to prove out a progress in a debate rather than what we're seeing now on all levels outside of, I guess, primary education, on all levels in the public eye, which is just a shitstorm. That's what debates are. It's just a shitstorm. It's all name calling. It's all fallacies. They might as well be boxing one another. They're not getting anywhere, and they're not helping their audience.